All right, so you should be able to see my screen. All right, so welcome to talking about why real estate investing is the key to creating and growing your wealth, being independent. This is my passion topic. I am a real estate investor myself, so I'm very much passionate about talking about this. So I'm very happy to see all of you here today. My name is Olga St Pierre. I have a couple of different hats that I wear. I'm a real estate investor. I'm also a licensed real estate agent with Keller Williams. And today, what I want to share with you is my journey and share with you that when people ask me all the time, if I had to start all over, what would I do? So this is kind of my, if I had to start all over again, here are some of the things that I would encourage you to do if you are thinking about kind of heading on that path. So a quick disclaimer, please understand that I am a licensed real estate agent. So I hope I have my license to talk to you about real estate in that aspect. However, if you have some legal questions or financial questions or questions about accounting, you do want to consult with those professionals that hold those licenses. What I'm sharing with you here are my thoughts and ideas and my experiences, and that's where I come from. So I would love to know why you are here, what's bringing you in today. Why are you curious about real estate? So if you want to chime in, you're welcome to. Otherwise, please post it in the chat, because I would always love to know what are some of the curiosities that others have when they join our workshop and we talk about the idea of different paths of creating wealth and creating money. So please share if you feel comfortable. So here's what we're going to talk about today. Why is real estate truly is the best way and the best path of creating wealth? Where are we going to start? Investing options, financing options, because that's quite a big question for many of us. And then we will set some time aside to answer your questions if you have any. So that is the format that we have today. So why real estate? Number one, Franklin Roosevelt said that real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchased with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care is something that is about the safest investment in the world. So that is one quote that I want to leave you with. And the second one, which played a huge role in my overall journey or where I am at today and when I started, is 90% of today's millionaires have become so through owning real estate. I want you to take a second and think about that, because that is a staggering statistic that blew my mind, really changed my mindset. And this is what I'm also sharing with you today. And that's why this is the first slide. 90% of all millionaires have become where they are today through owning a real estate. So I figured when I saw the statistic, if this is the path they have chosen, they probably have something to it. So let's dig into it a little bit more. So here are the basics, right? Where to next? What I love about the real estate overall is that there's a million different things that you can do. You will never be bored. And, this is just really speaks to me because I always love the creativity. I like solving problems, and I like to do this every day. So this is, if you're looking for a true adventure, for true opportunities that are available, then real estate is definitely an area for you. So number one, most important things is this. We're always going to be learning. We're always going to be absorbing. I can tell you that I have been licensed in the real estate agent industry for 15 years, and I became an investor before I got my license. So probably gone on, see, it was 2008. So yeah, almost 20 years that I have been in the real estate industry as an investor, and as well as someone who's licensed and holds their license. And I can tell you that every day up until today, I still learn something new. because there's just so much to learn and there's so many opportunities. So I learn and absorb every day, and I will continue to until my dying day. Next up, because there are so many opportunities, my recommendation to you is to review available paths. And once you start to get familiar with them, I want you to choose just a few of them that you really like and just get really good at those paths, right? So think of a chair. The chair has 4 legs to be stable. So if you narrow your focus down to maximum 4 different legs, no more than that, probably even less than that, that would be the best, because then you can focus on becoming so good at a couple of these avenues that you can advise others, you can consult with others, and you can partner with others. Next up, and we're going to dive in deeper about that, is deciding on the criteria and your terms for the projects in your chosen area that you're going to be expert at, creating a network, putting an action plan together, and then actually getting to work. So this is the general framework that we're talking about. So let's dive in deeper a little bit. I also want to dispel some myths about real estate investing that I hear all the time when I'm talking and I'm networking with other investors. So number one, I don't need to be an investor. My job will take care of my financial health. I'm going to be getting Social Security when I retire. Well, there's a couple of things that are incorrect with that statement. Number one, a lot of experts are predicting that Social Security may not even be there when it's time for us in my generation to retire. You're not supposed to use Social Security as your big pool of money to retire, and definitely should not be relying on the government, which means that you need to create your own resources and save up your own money and invest your own money, which is why you are here to create your wealth through real estate, because nobody's going to do it for you. Everybody's trying to take care of themselves. So think about, how are you going to be spending your golden years? Are you going to enjoy them, or are you going to be working full-time because you have to, not because you want to? There's nothing wrong with working because you want to and you enjoy doing something. Number two is, I can't do it. It's very complicated. I can tell you for a fact that there are some investors that I know who were still buying through the crazy increasing and low inventory years that we've had for the last couple of years after the pandemic. During the pandemic, they're still buying and they're still finding opportunities because they know where to look, they know who to talk to. Investing is risky and I'm going to lose money. What I can tell you is that any investing is going to be risky. If you're putting money in the stock market, you know there are some days you're going to be losing money and there's going to be some days you're going to be gaining money. The difference is that you are investing money and you are putting that money in someone else's hands to manage. Okay. And when you're handling real estate, you are in full control on what you are doing and the decisions that you're making. It is your decision, it's your criteria, and you are evaluating the deals. So if you set your criteria and you know exactly what you're looking for, and you have all of those standards set in place, then you will be in good shape. If you are going out and just for the sake of it saying, oh my God, I really would like to buy something because my hands are itching, I just want to maybe, get the home renovated, I want to do a flip, then there is a very good chance that you will be losing money because you're not holding on to your standards and to the criteria, the investment criteria that you set down for yourself. Okay. And we already talked about the Social Security, and you have your retirement check and you're all set. Well, you might be surprised what may happen in 20 years. I'm definitely not counting on that. If it's going to be there, great. However, I am not relying on the government to help and support me during my golden years. I want to be in control myself, and I want to be in control of what I'm going to be doing during my retirement, even though I really have no intention of retiring because I very much enjoy what I do. So that's about myths. The next step, let's talk about the basics, right? So here's one thing that I want you to understand is this. I am not a fan of a lot of the shows online that talk about real estate, starting out with shows that depict where you pick 3 homes and then they give you an opportunity to say, oh, which one, and you can guess which one the buyer's pick. I had a buyer purchase a home a few years back that was part of a television show where they came in and they did a little bit of a cleanup and a spruce up in the home. And I can tell you that what they actually show on TV versus the reality, what it looks like and the materials are used, are two very different things. And remember, those shows are made for viewership, for sensation, for, to give that wow factor. So a lot of the times what is actually is versus the reality are two very different things. So when you're watching those shows, especially that have to do with real estate or investing, I want you to really take everything with a grain of salt, and better yet, you may want to talk to those investors who are actually boots on the ground in your area doing this every day. And I can tell you, it is not that simple. It is not easy, yet it's so worth it. Absolutely, and so rewarding. So guess what? This is right here, this really crazy little error looking path is exactly what the real estate investment path looks like. It is sometimes going to be 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And sometimes it's going to be 3 steps forward and 4 or 5 steps back. It's going to be back and forth, back and forth. But ultimately, what you're going to realize is that you're going to be doing trial and error. You're going to be learning. You're going to have lessons. And then overall, the trajectory, even though it's going to be crazy, it's going to slowly, little by little, but it's going to keep you moving forward, and it's going to keep you moving forward and a little bit up. And that is the goal, is slow and steady. Okay, so this is what I want you to realize. It's not a straight line. It is absolutely not easy, but it's absolutely so worth it. So where would I start if I had to start all over again? The first thing that I would do is find a local investor group and start networking with people. You won't believe the support that you get, the people that you meet, and the opportunities that you get. Okay, if you are local to our area, what you can also look up is the National Association of Real Estate Investing. It's called National REIA, and they have chapters in every single state of the country. So if you want to start there, depending on your areas. Our local area here has Diversified Investor Group. It's a tri-state area investor group that is a gold mine of information, speakers, networking, and support. I can tell you that I have a dozen phone numbers of seasoned investors that have been in business longer than I've been alive, that I can call and text and ask for advice, and they will be happy to provide it to me free of charge, because we are all part of the same group and we're all trying to accomplish something. Okay, so that's one thing. You can attend the first meeting free if you're here locally. If you would like to do that, actually, we have our first meeting, our monthly meeting coming up this Thursday. I'm more than happy to provide you with details, so let me know. Next up is Bigger Pockets. It's a huge platform for everything has to do with real estate investing. You can get lost on there for days in their member forums that has tons of questions, information, resources, and you name it. So head out to Bigger Pockets. The other thing that I love that I didn't have when I started, that is fully available right now, is opportunity to learn through social media. For example, podcasts. You can listen to different topics. Bigger Hot Pockets has a really popular podcast, Real Estate Guys radio show, Creating Wealth for Generations, Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow are just a few to name. Go to Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, sign up, subscribe to those channels, and start listening to different topics, so that way you can get a feel for different avenues in real estate investing that you can do, so that way you can decide on what you want to focus on. So we have podcasts. We also have people in social media, whether depending on what platform you're comfortable with, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or TikTok. All these big guys are on there. I follow quite a few of them on TikTok and on Instagram. It's just easy, quick videos, quick points and I always pick up some kind of nuggets. Even now, 20 years later, I'm still learning something new. So the basics, let's dive in and talk about what are some of those million different ways in real estate investing that I'm mentioning to you. So really what you want to focus on is, if you look at the left side of the screen, is we're talking about choosing a strategy. So first, understanding the value on what that strategy provides and how comfortable you're going to be with the topics, and then get a perspective. That's when we're talking about, okay, Is this going to be a lot of work? Is this going to be less work? And what I mean by that is, if you think about it, we're talking about noisy versus quiet investments. And this terminology I just learned last year. And what I mean by that is noisy, the more noisy it is, the more work it's going to require. The less noisy and nice and quiet it is, the less work it's going to require. But that also means that most of the time, the noisier the investment is, the more money it's going to make you, because more money means more effort. Okay, so a couple of ways you can do this, right? If you're buying something, you have a couple of different ways what you can do if you're talking about purchasing a building, a house. Number one, you can buy and live in that property. So think of that as your primary residence, or maybe you're buying a duplex or triplex, which is an amazing strategy where you live in one unit and you rent out the other 1 or 2 units that you have, which most likely are going to be paying for your mortgage. So you can live there basically expense free, because your mortgage is your largest expense. Option number 2 is you're going to need money. So you're trying to buy it, renovate it, and sell it. So that's a flip. And then option 3, you're going to buy it, hopefully upgrade it and update it, renovate it, and then hold it, because you want the opportunity of having that property as a longer term investment. So that's just like a general perspective that I wanted to kind of share with you. Now let's dive in and talk about some of the more common investing options. So you definitely have heard of flipping, where you buy a property, you quickly renovate it and do it quality work, and then you put it on the market and you sell it. And then you subtract all of your expenses, and there is your net profit that you still have to pay taxes on, but don't forget about that. Option number 2 is you buy and hold. And there's, again, quite a few options there. So long-term is where you put a tenant in there for at least a 12-month lease. You have also college rentals, where you rent it to a group of students around the colleges. This is something that I've done for a number of years. You have short-term vacation rentals. That's your Vrbo and Airbnbs, which is my bread and butter. And then you have multifamilies, which is a great opportunity if that is available in your area, where you buy it and you have one mortgage, yet you have a couple of tenants that are paying for their rent, and they're paying for your mortgage. There's land development. If you want to buy a lot and then you can put a mobile home on it, or perhaps you actually building a house on it. So that's new construction. If you want to dive into commercial, that's a very different animal. Shopping centers, industrial, office buildings. That's something that I don't dive into because it's very different, but it's option for you. You can actually buy mobile home parks. You can buy mobile homes, because some of them are considered to be personal property, because you can move it from, and then you just rent a lot. Or there are some mobile homes that have been permanently attached to the piece of land, which means that it becomes real estate. You can purchase tax liens. You can purchase mortgage loans, mortgage notes. You can do wholesaling, where you actually just sell the contract that you have without actually owning the property, and a million different other things. So this list is not all encompassing of everything from A to Z in the alphabet of real estate investing. These are just some of the common ones that I hear that I wanted you to be aware of. There's tons of other ones as well. Next up, let's talk about criteria and terms, and also let's talk about money. Number 1, before you go even dive into real estate investing, what I want you to also ask yourself a honest question and say, okay, so before I dive in and I start spending money on investing in real estate, how are your own finances, first of all? That if you're investing in something else where you're potentially getting another house with another mortgage, how solid is your income, and how clear are you on your expenses, so that way you can sleep easily at night knowing that your own budget is covered, because then you're going to be working on and worried about the budget for the investment property. So your own personal goals first. How is your credit score? Your credit score is part of your financial health. So you have your emotional health, you have your physical health, and you also have your financial health, where a lot of people don't even realize how important it is. But whenever you buy something you need credit for, your credit score and your overall financial history and the track record are what's going to get you the best rate and the best terms, and you can make friends with lenders. If your personal financial history is shaky, you might as well stop thinking about investing in real estate until you get your own house in order. That has to be your number one goal. You need to have your personal reserves, at least 6 months worth, to make sure that if you were to lose your job, if something was to happen, your car breaks down, you need a new heating and air conditioning in your house, which is $10,000, you have the money to cover that. You're not going to be pulling money from your investment fund or your investment reserves or plans to take care of your own personal plans. And then, of course, we're also talking about available funds for investing. Right? So once you are solid and you feel comfortable with the plans that you made for your own personal residence, for your own home, for your own family, now let's talk about, well, where am I going to get the money for my real estate investing goals? Okay, because that's what a lot of times is the questions that we get. Here are some good options, some food for thought for you. The easiest way you can do that is through a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit on your personal residence. If you haven't taken advantage of the increased equity in your home in the last 2 to 3 years due to increasing home values, please let me know, because you probably don't even realize just how much money you have sitting there that you can potentially use as a down payment or as a renovation fund for that potential investment opportunity that you have that is coming, or you may not know that it's coming, yet you may want to actually set and have it ready to go when the opportunity does come into your sphere, into your world, and you have something and you have to jump. If you have that money set aside, you can jump and you can take advantage of that opportunity. So typically, the line of credit on your primary residence is going to give you the best percentage. So what they do is they figure out how much your current mortgage is and how much your home is worth right now. So let's say for easy math, let's do this. Your home right now is worth $500,000 and your mortgage balance is 200, which means that your equity right now is 300,000. Most of the time, the banks are going to be able to lend you anywhere between 75 and 80%. Some of them lend more, but let's say we're being conservative. So $300,000 times 80% equity, that means that you have $240,000 that is sitting in your house that you can use potentially for whatever you want. So when you go to open up your line of credit, they're going to ask you, what are you using that money for? Just let them know that you're thinking about doing some renovations, paying down some bills, things like that. Once you have that line of credit established, you have $240,000 sitting in there, basically almost like a checking account that you can write checks from. If you don't use that money, you don't pay any interest. When you pull the money out, you only pay interest on the amount of money that you pulled. It's one of my favorite ways of obtaining the financing. So that would be step number one. Then you can go the conventional route of just getting a mortgage, like conventional loans. You can do some other options if you need like a 203K renovation loans. So think of it this way: when you're going that route, because you're going to be purchasing investment property, the interest rate is going to be higher and your down payment is going to be at least 20 to 25%. So you need to have that money saved. Okay. So next up is hard money lenders. And this is actually another avenue that you can lend money yourself if you have it to other people who are looking for funding to do the renovations or to purchase something. So that's another avenue of you lending money. You don't have to buy real estate property to be a real estate investor. You can actually lend money to others to do so and make money. Okay. So hard money lenders typically charge higher points and they charge higher interest rates because it's a more risky investment for them. You're not buying a primary residence, you're not buying a vacation home, you're buying an investment property that you may be renovating or doing something with it, and then you're going to refinance it down the road. So hard money lenders are a great way for you to get the money that you need quickly. Hard money is available everywhere. I can tell you that is never an issue, as long as you have your numbers all figured out and you budget for the investment properties there. Next up is private financing. It's another great way, and I want you to think bigger. So I'm going to kind of ask you to open up your mind today, but the private money is everywhere as well. So think about your family, think about your friends that have solid jobs, doctors, attorneys, engineers, teachers, people that like to save money. A lot of them have that money sitting in just a savings account. And I can guarantee you that if they were to lend that money out to, let's say, you or someone you know to help you or someone else with a real estate investment project, I guarantee you that they're going to be earning quite a few more money. Let's say that if they have that money in a high yield interest account, savings account, right now they're paying between 4 and 5%, hypothetically. Hard money and private financing, you can lend out money at 10, 12, 15%. So think how much more money they would be making if they just looked at this as a different perspective and a different opportunity. So think about that. That's part of your homework today. And then self-directed financing is one of my absolutely favorite ways of financing. If any of you has any money that's sitting in the 401k plan that you no longer participate with because you're no longer with that company, if any of you have individual retirement accounts sitting with Schwab or JP Morgan or Vanguard, you can actually transfer that money into a self-directed plan like CAMA, where you have control over where that money in that IRA is being invested. So think of it this way. You can invest that money in the stocks of your choice, not what Vanguard wants to invest it in. You can invest it in gold. You can invest it and actually lend that money out for projects. There's a million different ways that you can do that. You just have to abide by the strict regulations that IRS set up for this and just follow the rules. That's it. But the opportunity is also there for you to take that money. Now, with a self-directed funding, because that money sits in IRA, any money that you make, you don't get yourself. The IRA gets it back, which means that your retirement money is growing inside of your IRA, right? How is that? It's an amazing way for you to grow your wealth through your retirement accounts. So that way you have a good amount of money to spend during your golden years. I think it's one of the best ways of doing that. So CAMA plan is just one example of a self-directed IRA companies out there. You can search, there's quite a few of them out there. If you need some suggestions, I'm more than happy to share with you the company that I use myself. So just let me know if that is something that you want to know more about. All right, next up, where are we going to find our investments? So a couple of different ways you can do that. One of the best ways is by networking with others. There's going to be investors who are going to start talking to you. If you tell them, listen, I have money to lend. Hey, I am looking for a project. Where are you looking? I'm looking for a certain town. I'm looking to do a flip. I'm looking to actually renovate something and keep, because that's the route that I want to take. Talk to everybody that you know. Talk to the contractors that you see on the regular basis and say, hey, if you see a home or homeowner in distress and you think that they may need help, let me know. I will pay you for bringing me an opportunity, which you can. You can do that. You can pay them $500, $1,000 if you buy that property, because otherwise you wouldn't have had that opportunity if it wasn't for that contractor. Next up, you can drive the target areas. This is actually how I found our first property. My daughters were small and I wanted to be in this certain neighborhood. So I would drive down the streets and I wrote down every address of every house that looked like crap, in my opinion. And I sent them all letters to see if they're interested in selling. I said, hey, I was in the neighborhood. I'm interested in purchasing a home in the neighborhood. Will you consider selling your home? I remember that I think once or twice they called me and they were a little offended. And I said, well, that's okay if you're not interested. However, one time I got a call of a house that had a second floor burned down. And that was our first property that we purchased because they wanted to sell. They didn't want to take the money from the insurance company, renovate the house. They just wanted to move on. So that was our first project that we bought that we had to renovate because the second floor was burned down. And our first goal was to flip it. Our second goal was to rent it out, and eventually became our rental for a college that we held on to for quite a bit of years before we ended up selling. Next up is probate, when somebody passes away and let's say that the kids are all over the place or they're out of state and they just want to get rid of the property, it's another good opportunity. Foreclosure, bank-owned homes, that is can be hit or miss. And the reason being is that the bank-owned properties will sit until they get put on the market through our multiple listing service through a realtor. And at that time, everybody has access to it. I can tell you that if you find something and you realize that it's a foreclosed home, if you think that you can try and contact the bank and find someone to talk to in their REO department to try buy directly with them, I have never seen or heard anyone being successful with that. They don't want to deal with you. They have their own way of handling and the procedures. They have hundreds of thousands of these homes, depending on the size of the bank. And I wasted a lot of my time trying to get through to someone because I wanted to buy a home that was owned by this bank, where they don't even know where this area is. It was all part of the package. And a lot of times they do they package a bunch of these houses and they just sell them to investment trusts and do something because they deal with millions of dollars and nobody's going to care about a property that's $300,000. Estate and tax sales. We talked a little bit about that. For bankruptcy, evictions, divorce, we're talking about the top 10 life stressors and issues that people deal with. Sometimes if you have a way to get in and get connected with a bankruptcy attorney or divorce attorney, that's the way to do it. It's definitely not easy. A lot of people do direct mail. They will send out postcards. I'm sure you've seen them before. I get them all the time. I will buy your home for cash, quick close. You don't have to worry about anything. Sometimes people bite, sometimes they don't. Who can help you in this situation? Agents that specialize and they can scout through the multiple listing service listings, the things that go on the market. Absentee owners, where they own a property and then they don't live there anymore because maybe they moved and now that property is rented. Landlords, some landlords become just tired of dealing with homes and they just don't want to do it anymore. Bank officers, attorneys, and your allied resources team, which I think is more important than pretty much that whole list. So your allied resources team, let's dive into that, are the people that are with you and they know you well. So think like contractors that I already mentioned to you, people that you know, you can start telling your friends and family about that. And anybody you talk to, like that's part of your networking. Let people know that you are going to be an investor. And sometimes, you know what, even if you haven't done anything and you're looking for that opportunity, you kind of just run with it. And you say, yes, absolutely. I buy properties. I help homeowners. Who do you know? Have you come across anyone who may need some help? Okay, because even if you don't know anything about this property, or if you don't know how to help that homeowner, or if you don't have the funds yet you know this is a great opportunity, I guarantee you when you network with other investors, you can always partner with someone and say, hey, can we go in on this 50-50? I know I have no experience, yet I know that you have the expertise and the money. I have an opportunity. Let's partner together where you bring in the money and your expertise, and when we renovate and sell this property, I want to learn. We will split the proceeds 50-50. Nobody says that you can't do that. The opportunity is there. I can tell you from the experience that most of the time the money is there to buy. It's the deals and the opportunities that are harder to come by. So keep on doing and keep on looking for opportunities. So why are we talking about real estate and why I'm so passionate about it? So the cash flow quadrant is from a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is one of the first books that I read that kind of opened up my eyes to the real estate investing. So it is in the list of recommended books that I have for you, which is coming up on another slide. And this is what I want you to look at. This is kind of how our country is working, right? We have employees that have a job, right? This is where people work 40-50 hours a week, Monday through Friday, or they work on weekends. They work for someone, make money to someone, and then they get a paycheck and they get taxes deducted from their paycheck, and then they get 1 or 2 weeks a year They dread getting up on Mondays. They love Fridays, and they go work through Wednesday hump days, and that's just how they pass on with their life. Okay. Option number 2 is you're self-employed. Okay, so that's kind of the step up, and the next step is you own the job. Okay, you actually own it, which means that if you're self-employed, there's nobody else but you, unless you have other people that work with you. You don't have leverage, and that's going to be 95% of the population as well, self-employed as well as employees. So if you do decide to go on vacation and you don't have someone covering your business, you're not making any money, right? So your time is extremely important. And it's, you know, owning a business or being self-employed is definitely something better than being an employee, yet we need something more. We need other opportunities, we need other resources. So the next step is your business owner, because you now have a system. You employ other people, so that way when you do go on vacation, you have someone that is covering your business who is still making you money, right? A lot of the times your income does not depend on the active work that you're doing, because people work with you and they're making you money. You have employees. And the best quadrant that I want you to focus on, which is how we're growing our wealth, is being an investor. You own investors and you use leverage. And this little quadrant is 5% of the population. Your income does not depend on active work. So you're talking about owning investments, which means that you have passive income, which is the best income to have, where money works for you. Okay, so what is financial wealth? Is where you have unearned income to finance your life mission without having to work. So unearned income means that you don't have to actively go to work to earn that money. You have your passive investments making money for you every month. So why I'm passionate about real estate is because overall, if you really think about it, with a little bit of planning, anyone can buy it. Absolutely. You can buy a home with 3.5% down. You can buy a home with no money down, depending on your circumstances. The home is going to appreciate every year. Real estate appreciates roughly, historically, it's about 4%. The last 3 years has been appreciating for quite a bit more. We've seen appreciation 5, 10, 15, 20, 25%, which is unheard of in the stock market if you're trying to compare things. It's leverageable, which means that you can buy it on the margin and then you borrow against equity. What's borrowing against equity? That is the HELOC that I already mentioned to you. That's your home equity line of credit that you can use for other opportunities. You can rent your real estate, which means that it's instant cash flow. And when you rent it, that is that passive income that I'm talking about. Every month, someone is going to pay you. Once you pay your expenses, you pay your mortgage, you have cash flow left over. That is your passive net income. Improvable, it's sweat equity. When you buy something and you renovate it, you make it worth more money, which means it's equity in your pocket. Real estate is deductible, depreciable, and deferrable, and these are all great tax benefits because the government wants you to own property and own real estate. And real estate is stable. It is slow to rise and it's slow to fall. It is not like stock market that if it doesn't have coffee in the morning, it's having a hissy fit by 12 o'clock, and then it's going up and down, back and forth, and then we'll see where it ends up for the day. It's definitely not like a stock market. And you can live in real estate, own it, and decide what you want to do with it. So here's a good example for you that I wanted to share. I love this graph. This was a huge eye-opener for me last year, and this is what I want to share with you. So let's say if I gave you $30,000, and let's talk about that. So you're doing this for a certain amount of time. I think it's 10 years. If you were to invest $30,000 in the real estate versus a stock market, right? So the reasons why we just talked about and covered it. Why are we investing in real estate? It's equity, it's cash flow, it's appreciation of the property, and it's absolutely cash advantages. tax advantages. If you're investing it in a S&P 500, so that's your Standard & Poor, the biggest 500 companies in US, right? So that's the index that we're going by. Typical returns are between 7 to 10% a year over a long 10-year period. Because remember, stocks jump around all the time, right? So here's the kicker. So if you were to invest the $30,000 in a stock market for 10 years, your return is going to be $18,315. And we're being optimistic, thinking that it's going to be a 10% return. If you were to invest this money in real estate, and you were going to take advantage of the fact that the value grows every year of at least 4%, you are collecting rent, which means that the tenant is paying down your mortgage and you are growing your equity. Your mortgage is being paid down, and you're also having tax advantages on multiple levels. The real estate power of that same amount of money over the same period of time is $191,911. So which one would you prefer to invest in? So food for thought today is this slide, because it can't be any clearer why 90% of all millionaires choose to go do the foundational investing is through real estate, and then they supplement with other stuff. So with building a network, we're kind of circling back to that. I just wanted to give you some food for thought on who are the people that you may want to have on your team to help you in your real estate investing journey. First of all, don't think that you're going to do it yourself. You definitely need help. You need partners. You need mentors. You need others who are on the same path, but don't think that they're competing with you, because everybody has their own criteria, their own interests, their own areas to focus on. I think the goal is to share and to be open to giving as well as open to receiving. So your inner circle is going to be your partners and mentors. Your support circle are going to be your immediate team, like accountant, attorney, a financial planner, people like that. And then your service circle, which is where people hopefully will bring you opportunities, are the contractors that you know and you work with. So this is your food for thought to start creating a list of people that you may want to talk to and let them know on the journey that you're embarking and that you're looking to partner with them to ask for their help to help you look and find opportunities. So this is one of the guys that I follow on, this is Instagram. So Richard Garcia is who I follow. And I thought that this slide was very much relevant to kind of like sum this up and to help you figure out where to go next. So number one, don't try to learn everything. Just learn one or two strategies really, really well. Find something that interests you so that way you're going to be excited about that strategy today, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and years from now. Okay, that's what you want to do. Number two, make sure that you don't over leverage, meaning that you run the numbers on opportunities. And if those numbers don't make sense, you move on and you say to yourself that that opportunity is not for me. Number three, focus on one property at first, but work on building a collection, but you're going to do it one property, one evaluation at a time. Number four, connect and build with other investors. Learn from their mistakes and their lessons is what I prefer to call them. Network, make friends, save their phone numbers in your phone, talk to them, reach out and say hello. Number five, don't be afraid to invest in yourself to reduce your learning curve. And that means being here, learning here, spending an hour or so with me here. And I thank you for that. And continue learning from others, reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching videos, because as I can tell you, I've been doing this for now 20 years, yet I still learn something new every day, and I love it. And also be prepared for the long haul, because real estate does take a while, because it's slow and steady, and it only takes a few homes, a few opportunities for you to get started on that journey to really truly see the rewards of using the real estate as an opportunity to grow your wealth. So a few recommendations on books. I have a list here for you to start out with. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Millionaire Next Door is a very interesting read. And Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. It has the spreadsheets. It talks about all different avenues and breaks everything down for you. Join Real Estate Investor Club. Look at meetups, check out Facebook and some other social media, website, podcast, YouTube videos. I have a couple of other people listed here on who you can follow. And then start out with planning and doing the foundational work, where we're talking about your budgets and your financial planning. Start out with what you have now. How can you leverage what you have now to help you get started? And this is where I would ask you again, do you have equity in your personal home? Can you put a line of credit, which will put you on the right track to getting you started with the real estate investing? So, and I updated this recently, so I just want to share with you some of the successes of what this looks like. Okay, these are not my projects. These are projects from someone who is always, this is what he does. He's a full-time flipper. And I just wanted to share with you kind of like general numbers that you can achieve today, even in the hot market like we have, and we're continuing to have now because we are short on inventory. So Vineyard Road, he purchased in August of 2023 from public listing. So this was listed on MLS. So he purchased it for $230,000 and he put it on the market 2 months later, which means that this investor has his systems and financing and everything ready to go, and it's dialed in. He knows exactly how much money it costs to renovate everything. He has his budget. He has his spreadsheets. The home was listed in October for $393,000. It went under contract in 3 days and closed in November for actually it closed for $393,000. So when you subtract it, that means that he held on to that house for 2 months. And for all of his expenses, for holding costs and the profit, the total number was about $163,000 for 2 months. That's 2 months worth of work. So a full rehab probably nowadays takes between $50,000 and $70,000 is what his expenses were, plus insurance, property taxes, electricity, utility for 2 months is what their expenses were. So you can do the math from here. The second example is Trenton Road. He purchased it around April or May of 23 for $250,000. And literally he turned it around probably a month and a half. I'm not sure how much work was needed. Listed it for $375,000 under contract in 6 days. And that home sold for $380,000. So they roughly held on to it again for 2 months, paid property taxes for 2 months, utilities, insurance. So the total amount of money that they made is $130,000 minus their expenses. All right, so these are live examples from somebody that I know that does it for a living. These are just 2 of the properties that they did last year. But at least I just wanted to show you how you sometimes can reverse engineer the opportunity if you don't know and say, okay, well, how other people are doing it? Where did they find a property like this? How much did it cost them to buy? How long did it take them to renovate? Because his focus, what he knows really, really well is how, is how to flip houses. That's his #1 thing. I do know that they also hold properties where they put long-term tenants. They also renovate houses. I think they have a couple of Airbnbs, but his main focus is on flipping. All right, so this is what I want to share with you. So once you get this workbook, my contact information is here. If you would like to be invited to a DIG meeting for the first time for free, please let me know. If you're local, I'm more than happy to extend that invitation to you. And if you have any other questions, my phone, my email, and text are also open to you. I'm more than happy to share more about my own journey or give you some other advice. Or if you just want to talk to me in private as well, you're more than welcome to do that. So if you came in a little bit later, I do not have your contact information if you signed up through the library system. If you can please add your contact information through the chat, so that way I can send you a copy of this recording as well as the booklet as well.